Hey guys, it is Shannon again, and welcome to the second tutorial of the Myfitnesspal app. So today we're going to go over the strategies around entering food items accurately. So this is a huge deal because if we want to really support you to the best of our ability, we're going to need to know what you're eating. And if you enter in items incorrectly, it will not give us the proper information needed to support you towards your goals. And unfortunately, the app has some glitches. And they include that all sorts of people all over the world have been able to enter food items in without putting all the information in. You might notice that we entered the alcohol information in without all of the ingredients, but that is specific to you and to the goals that we're providing for you and the structures. So what we'll really want to do is pay attention to a few things. The first one is making sure that you enter each item of the foods you're eating per ingredient. And what that looks like is if you are having a burrito, for example, you're going to want to enter in the flour tortilla as one item, then the beans as one item, then the rice as one item, and the protein as another item, and the guacamole and the salsa and the sour cream and the cheese and whatever you're putting into your burrito, you want to enter them in as individual items into the app. What that allows for us is now we can see where protein, carbohydrates, and fats are actually coming from in your meal. And then if we notice that you might be over in certain areas, we can now kind of take a step back and say, okay, that didn't work towards the goals that I'm shooting for. So what can I adjust or add to reach the goals per meal? And when we're able to see them in an itemized fashion, it's very easy for us to get a viewpoint of where the nutrients are coming from. So I will show you a little bit of an explanation or example here of what the difference looks like. All right, so let's check this out real quick. We're gonna go to lunch and I'm gonna search burrito. I'm gonna search chicken burrito. And I'm gonna go ahead and press the search button. And you can see that a ton of options come up. The ones that have the green check mark next to them have actually been verified by the FDA as having all of the accurate information included. However, it may not be the burrito that you're choosing. If it's something like, for example, from Chick-fil-A or KFC, I didn't even know they had burritos, then that would be totally applicable. But if it's not coming from those menu items, then we'll want to make sure that you're selecting and entering in per ingredient. But just for an example, let's go ahead and put in a burrito from Chick-fil-A. So when you enter food items like this, what's awesome about this app is it'll tell you the amount of carbohydrates, fat, and protein in your food item. And what I was explaining before about not knowing where all of these macronutrients are coming from, it's because it's this one generic entry and we don't know what's making up that carbohydrate, fat, or protein specifically. So we'll really want to look at where it's coming from as you're learning how to navigate macronutrients. So as we also scroll down here, you can check out how much sodium is in it, cholesterol, carbs, fiber, sugars, protein, vitamins, etc. But in the beginning, we're just going to focus mainly on carbs, fat, and protein, and calories. So once we do this, I'm going to go ahead and press that check mark, and it will give you some notifications on whether it's high in something. This can be helpful, but we'd really love for you to just kind of follow the guidance of your coach or clinician so that we can help you to understand what is healthy and shooting towards your goals. One point here is saturated fat is not an ideal fat. It's not considered the healthy fat. So keeping foods low in saturated fat will always be the best option. So in a separate entry here, I'm going to go in and do items per ingredient to give you an idea. So I'm going to put in flour tortilla and press search. So here you'll see that there's a whole bunch of different options. Large flour tortilla, mission, and you got to just choose kind of the best one with your judgment. So what I like to do is kind of go through all of the options and look at something that's a little bit more middle of the line, which looks like this guy at 140 calories. It's not the lowest, it's certainly not the highest, but it's somewhere in the mid-range. And then again, it'll show us where the nutrients are coming from in terms of carbohydrates, fat, and protein. The tortilla has fat, it already has protein in it, so we need to take that into account. So I'll press that check mark button. And then we'll go back in and we'll go into adding some chicken. So whenever you enter chicken or protein, you want to enter it in as accurately as possible. So I'm going to enter in boneless, skinless chicken breast. And because I've already done this a lot of times, I'm going to have some items that come up that are my frequently used items. So that's awesome. Once you start to use the app more often, it's going to become a lot easier and auto-populate things that you use frequently to make your life a little more simple. But for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and search for a new item and go through the whole scenario with you. It's also important to spell things correctly. Okay. Press the search button. And so you can see that we have items at the top that show up immediately with the green check marks. Awesome. They're all pretty much the same. You can see that certain ones are actually 120, but for the majority, chicken breast is like 110 calories at 4 ounces. So we're going to go ahead and click one of these guys. You can see that there's a little bit of fat, a good amount of protein, 0 carbs, and we're going to click this guy. And then we're going to come back in and put in rice. So it's going to go into a lot of different kinds of rice. Mexican rice is probably going to be what we're looking for, or Spanish rice. So these are really different. I'm actually surprised about this. But we are going to look at Spanish rice and notice that 1 cup gives you a pretty good impact of carbohydrates. So I usually think that a burrito cannot hold 1 cup of just rice. So we're going to go ahead and change the serving and put in ½ a cup. There we go. And then to save it, I will press the check mark, come back in here. I'm going to put in guacamole. I'll probably say that usually they'll have about 2 tablespoons of guacamole, depending. Maybe it's just 1, but let's look at just putting 2 in for an example. And what else do we got in burritos usually? We're going to do black beans. Whoop. Spelling. Sorry, guys. And we see a whole bunch of options that come up here. They're all fairly similar, but there is some discrepancies. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this top guy, and I'm going to find a weight value. So I'm going to say about 2 ounces of black beans. We're going to go ahead and select 2 ounces. We can see the carbs, fat. It has a little bit of protein again. Go ahead and click that check mark. I'm going to put in some salsa. Search. We'll say about 2 tablespoons. Let's go ahead and do Chevy's. Let's see what kind of options it gives us. Okay, no tablespoon options. Mango salsa, sure. So this is approximately correct. You will start to learn what looks right and what doesn't, what looks accurate and what doesn't. Salsa doesn't usually have a lot of calories. It's mainly tomatoes, water, seasoning. So we're going to go ahead and press that check mark. So now we can see here at the top, especially when you have those premium functions, that carbs are here, protein and fat, and the total calories. So let's check out the difference between this one and the one that we entered in before. So fat's much higher, protein, carbs. So I'm assuming that this chicken burrito has a lot of cheese, and we actually didn't add cheese into ours, but what if we did? So I'm going to put in Mexican cheese, which is usually cotija, I believe. So if we look at this, 1/3 of a cup, I'd say that's about right. So we can see that it's high in fat, primarily a fat item. It does have protein in there as well. And now you can really see the impact in the calories and the fat, and that's probably a little bit closer to what this other burrito had. So if you ate at Chick-fil-A, this would be totally doable and appropriate. If you did not, you would want to enter in per ingredient to find the actual value. Once you can see now that entering in items per ingredient is really going to help you to understand where your macronutrients are coming from, you can then kind of take a step back and go, oh, maybe I don't need the cheese in my burrito, and maybe I want guacamole more. So if your goal for fat was, like, let's say around 10 grams, and you're seeing that the intake is up to 19 grams, then you can now pick and choose where you want to make adjustments to meet your calorie ranges and macronutrient ranges for that meal itself. So this is our tutorial about accuracy of food entries, and also giving you a little bit of an idea around serving sizes, how to choose different serving sizes, weight, tablespoons, cups, all of that stuff. And we'll see you in the next tutorial.